You know, Israel is very famous now with the, unfortunately, it is very famous about the Iron Dome. Have you heard about it? It's a metaphor that we use for the anti-missile technology. Because, for example, 2 weeks ago, Israel, especially the south of Israel, got over 600 missiles coming from the Gaza Strip into Israel. And this technology enabled to block most of these missiles while they were still in the air. So this was, when they started to think about it, there was an American delegation coming to evaluate whether it's possible or not, and the delegation decided that it's not possible. And you know, for Israelis, there is nobody takes no as an answer, and also when it's needed. So in this case, it was a good characteristic of the Israelis, so they didn't take it as an answer, as an evaluation, and they managed to do it in a relatively short time. So you need to prove the feasibility of it. I have a number of examples, but I think we don't have time for everything, right? How much time do we have overall? 12:30 or so? I don't want you to be bored too much. So if we have time at the end, I will give you some more examples for this radical innovation that needs to be proved. Okay, so first we looked at the relationship between the cognitive styles and the team radical innovation. And what we found out, you see, the blue means positive relationship, positive and significant, and the red means negative and significant. And you see that when teams have members who are high on creative ability, creative cognitive style, and also the high conformist in the team, there are conformists in the team. These teams are evaluated by two level managers, the immediate manager and the manager of the manager, as having a radical innovation. But the team members who are high on attentive to detail, actually this is negatively related to the team innovation. It may be very positive, not at the phase of the innovation, but in later phases. People who are high on the cognitive style of attention to detail can contribute a lot when you get to the implementation, but at the phase of coming up with the innovative ideas, it's not. They have a negative contribution. It's not mine, right? Okay. Now let me show you the processes. As I said before, we looked at a team conflict, team potency, which is the sense of the confidence in the ability of the team to be innovative and the adherence to standards. And what you see is this is interesting, and you should take it into consideration when you have creative people in your team. Creative members positively contribute to conflicts in the team, because they don't compromise on their ideas. They think that their idea is great. They may be right in most of the cases, but these people also contribute to conflict. They don't compromise. Fortunately, the high level of team conflict in these teams didn't contribute to low radical innovation, because it was balanced by the other members. You can see here, maybe I put all the errors. You can see here that the conformists are negatively related to conflict. Namely, the conformists in the teams are the ones that maintain the harmony and the peace in the team. And they also know how to avoid conflict within the organization with other members of the organization, because they know the context and they are looking at how the idea is going to be accepted by the management of the organization, for example. There is another study that I collaborate with colleagues in Europe, where they focused on new product development teams. And they found that teams that actually managed to get their product, their ideas into reality, I mean the product was implemented and versus teams that came up with ideas but the product didn't get to the end of the implementation. They differ not in the level of innovation of the idea. They differ in the level of conformity in the sense of knowing what is going to be acceptable and how to convince the decision makers to promote, to choose their product, the product that they offer as a development, new development product in the organization. If you look at the attentive to detail people, they are the ones that take care of the rules and regulations and standards, do not break the rules, ethics and so forth, but this is negatively related to team radical innovation. So now, yes.
Relating the task conflicts to radical innovation, that means that a little bit of conflict is good for innovation, or
yeah, that's a good interpretation. A little bit of conflict. The ones who create the conflict are the creative people, but you need to balance it. Finally, you need to keep the peace in the team in order to be able to get to the final product. So now, if we want to look at the combination of team members, which team will have the best combination of team members to lead to innovation, to radical innovation in this case. And this is what we found. You see, the highest level of innovation were teams with high proportion of people who are creative. There was relatively high proportion of people who are creative in the team, but there were also a proportion of conformists, a moderate proportion of conformists in the teams. The ones who know whether the idea is going to be acceptable or not, the one who knows how to keep the harmony in the team and so forth, and a low proportion of attentive to detail people. This was the most innovative combination of innovative teams. The lowest was obvious. Teams with low percentage of creative people in the team, and high percentage, moderate to high percentage of people who are conformists and attentive to detail. This combination is not going to lead to any team innovation. But another combination that I want to point at is this one, where you have high proportion of creative people and low proportion of the two other types. This is not going to be the most innovative team, because which shows that if the team is totally homogeneous in terms of the capabilities or the cognitive styles in my case, it's not enough to get into innovation. You need to have a diversity, some team diversity in the capabilities, in the cognitive styles, in the skills, in order to become an innovative team. Any questions up to here? Suggestions? Okay, so actually this study, which was published in a research in the Academy of Management Journal, there was the editor of Harvard Business Review read it and liked it, so he asked whether he can write a one-page summary for managers, and so it also appeared in Harvard Business Review. Yes?
What was the vertical axis in the chart? It was the number of projects, or it was measure of
the level of radical innovation as evaluated by the two-level managers, the direct managers and the upper-level managers of each one of the teams.
So it's associated to the percentage of the projects that are considered as radical innovation.
As radical innovation, yes. Okay, so this is another study that I wanted to share with you about team innovation. I have a series of studies, and I will stop according to the time because it's not everything can be done in one time. So the takeaway we actually already talked about. Now there is another context of team today, and these are the global teams. You know, many of the multinational companies today have teams that consist of members coming from different cultures. And many of these teams are also virtual teams, not co-located teams. For example, we have a big site of Intel in Israel. The managers of teams in Israel, their employees are Part of them are in Israel, part of them are in Ireland, part of them are in Oregon in the US, and the manager they report to is in Paris, in France. So this is how these multinational companies actually operate these days. How about your company? It's mostly Brazilian, I guess? Or
No, it's Latin America. We
Latin America.
do have groups all across Latin America.
Okay. Okay, so actually there is a series of studies that I did about multicultural teams, and the first one is the first one I've done, and I want to explain to you how I studied. This one was actually easy for me to study. Before I get into it, I want to tell you about it. I teach a course on cross-cultural management, which focuses on the cultural diversity. And you know, in Israel, you know, when you ask Israelis, they will tell you that Israelis are very heterogeneous. But when you look at Israelis from outside, they all look the same. And they speak Hebrew, they all speak Hebrew, they all serve in the military, they have lots of common characteristics. Even some of them were born in Israel, some were born in Russia, some were born in one of the Middle East countries. Still, they all share something very similar. So when I teach a course on cultural, multicultural management, cross-cultural management, I wanted them to experience what it means to work in this context. So I contacted colleagues of mine in other countries that teach a similar course at about the same time. And I found, fortunately, I had colleagues in the Far East, in the US, in Europe, and who agreed to collaborate with me on having the students team together on global virtual teams and work on a project for 4 weeks. And the project is not part of the class, not during the class hour. They have to do it on their own. And we give them a problem to solve. For example, one of the problems that they worked on was that they should decide about the culture where they want to focus, on which they want to focus. And they should get the interest of an investor to invest in this place in a particular project. So they have to learn about the culture, they have to learn about the industry, what are the strengths of this culture, and then they have to know how to convince the investor. So this is the context of this study, this first study. And when I started it not for research purposes, but for teaching purposes, so that they will experience it. And I also collected information during the process in order to provide them feedback on their cultural values, on their group work, and so forth. But later on, my doctoral students say, why don't you use it for research purposes as well? So I had to apply to the ethics committee, you know, and to do the whole process to also use the information for research purposes. So I identified a number of, I call them global characteristics that enable people to well adjust to other cultures. So one of them is the cultural intelligence. Do you know this? Are you familiar with it? It actually was developed by a colleague of mine in Singapore, Sun Ang, and some other colleagues together. And cultural intelligence, or CQ, the way they present it, is the individual's capability to deal effectively in culturally diverse settings. And it consists of a number of factors such as cognition, the ability to recognize the differences, motivation, the motivation to adjust, because some may recognize the difference, but they don't want to adjust to it, and the behavior, because even if you have the motivation, you don't necessarily, you are not necessarily capable to behave accordingly. So this is one. The second one is something that I developed, this construct, which is called, I define it as global identity. A global identity, so let me give you a background for it. it is based, there is a social identity theory. I hope more of you are familiar with it, because it's a theory that was developed in the 60s or 70s, and it has been empirically supported in hundreds of studies. The social identity theory, what it says is that that each one of us needs to have a social identity, and a social identity is the sense of belongingness to a group that is meaningful to you. And each one of us has a number of social identities. We have family social identity, we have a sense of belongingness to the group of the family, we have job status identity, we are researchers, we are students, we are managers, so we identify with the group of we want to belong to the group of managers or of researchers and so forth. And I thought that people who work in this multicultural context, in the global context, they should develop a sense of identity, a sense of belongingness to this group. If they don't feel part of it, they are not going to be effective. So I developed this construct based on the social identity theory, and I also developed a measure for it, and I empirically tested this measure many, many times to make sure that the psychometric characteristics like reliability and validity are high. And then I started to use it in my research. So the global identity is defined as the people's sense of belongingness to, what is it? Yeah, to the global community or to the global group in the case of multicultural teams in organizations. And I differentiate it from the local identity. The local identity is what we all have. Is the people's sense of belongingness to the local national community. Like my local identity is Israeli. For you, it's probably Brazilian and so forth. And we have a strong sense of belongingness to our local national identity. And I differentiate between the two. And some people can be high on one, but some people can be high on both, and some people can be low on both. There are all kinds of all these combinations of levels of identity. This is a study by itself, and I will not get into it, but it's very, very interesting to look at people identity and how it affects their behavior in different contexts. In marketing, there is a lot of research on identity, because, for example, if you have a product that is Brazilian and a product that is is foreign, what would you buy? So some people with a very strong local identity will buy the Brazilian product. Others may not care, and others may look for the international product. In Israel, it's very strong. We call it blue-white. Blue kahol lavan, blue-white is the Israeli product. And some people feel very strongly to buy all Israeli product. Today it's very, very difficult because of the e-commerce that bring you product for very cheap prices. So it's a high competition with the blue-white products in Israel now. So I decided to look at these characteristics and see whether teams that are high on global characteristics will perform better and will be more innovative than teams with not such a high global characteristics, or you can call it global capital even, global capital of the team. So this study is the one I told you about, that I did it in my in the cross-cultural management classes for a number of years, from 2008 until 2011. So we had about how many? We had many, many teams, about over 300 virtual multicultural teams, which is a big population, and we looked at how these global characteristics changed from before they start the project to work together and at the end of the project. And what we found out, okay, so this is we assessed it on a number of points, and before they start, about 9-10 days through the process, and at the end of the process, which was at the end of the month. And at the middle point, we also asked them to select, to nominate a team leader. because it's hard to coordinate if one is in Australia and one is in San Francisco and one in Israel. It's hard to coordinate the teamwork, and we ask them to nominate the team leader by themselves, for themselves. So this is a simple methodology, and let me show you some of the results. Oops. Okay, so first of all, you can see something very, very significant. Over the time, the green one is the cultural intelligence CQ, and the red one is the global identity, and the blue one is the local identity. So you see local identity doesn't change, namely working in a multicultural context doesn't influence the local identity, which is what we would expect. But even within a period of 1 month, 4 weeks, you can see that working in such a context, and of course with some monitoring of the researcher, the teachers in all the classes, to make sure that there are no conflicts and no problems and so forth, you see that people develop their global identity and their cultural intelligence. And they are going to be more effective teams than teams that do not have these capabilities. We also thought that maybe there was some mistrust in some teams, and we were interested to see whether when there is a mistrust, then they don't acquire this capability. But when there is a trust atmosphere in the team, that's where they acquire this capability. And we also, on a voluntary basis, asked them to fill out again the questionnaire about 6 months after the study, after the course. And I want to show you this finding as well. So the team trust, actually, in terms of the design, is a moderator, because we expect to have a more significant effect of the experience they gain over the course when team trust is high rather than when team trust is low. And this is what we found. Okay, so you can see the team trust is actually moderated here. The highest level of gain or improvement in the global identity and in the cultural intelligence is when team trust is high. The slope is very small when the team trust is moderate, and no gain at all when there was no trust in the team. And you see the last one, T4, is 6 months after the end of the class. And you see that the people in the high level, they maintain their global identity and cultural intelligence after the class was over, which means that they gained new capability by participating in this class. If there's anyone here who teaches similar class and want to join, I would be happy to talk to you after the seminar. So this is another study. And another study which is based on it, I told you that after about 9-10 days that they had to select their team leader, team coordinator. And I was curious to see whether the team leaders that they selected had higher levels of these global characteristics than the other team members. Even though the team members couldn't articulate these characteristics, they didn't know about global identity, they didn't know about cultural intelligence. And surprisingly enough, they had the feeling that one of the team members who actually had higher levels of capabilities, global capabilities, would be a good leader. And we found out that the leaders scored much significantly higher on the global characteristics like cultural intelligence, openness to diversity, another one, and global identity than the regular team members. Which means that people have a sense of understanding who could be a good leader. We don't always see it in politics, unfortunately, but we have the capability to do it well. Okay, so this is another study that is based on the same methodology. How are we doing? We have to stop. Okay, so you can see that because today, these days, we have more multicultural teams in global companies, in multinational companies, what we mean by a team is not a collocated, homogeneous team. It is already a virtual team, not in the same location, and consisting of people coming from different cultures. And this has a higher potential for location, and this is in my next study that I will present some other time. But also the leaders should know how to overcome the difficulties of creating a trust, building a trust, and building a common language in the team. So the team members express their unique ideas. They are not afraid to express their unique ideas, because that's where creativity comes from. It comes from the creative ideas, from the unique ideas, not from the common ideas. So I will stop here.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, thank you, Professor Miriam. This question, if you may pose questions, please, just for the purpose of registration, say your name before Ricardo Kahn from is already talked, and somebody else already talked, I couldn't see. So please identify yourself and pose the question.
Ricardo Altman.
Another Ricardo?
Yeah,
Yes.
Ricardo. And they work together.
Ricardo Altman is a good friend. I want to recognize him from Lunica, a consulting company. I also would like to recognize Celia Adis here, who just is very active in working also with multinational companies in innovation. We had just a project recently, and some other friends. But Ricardo, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you. So, thank you for the presentation. Very nice. I was wondering how I would compare these styles, cognitive styles, with hierarchy in a company, providing when you form the teams inside a company, if the hierarchy or the high-level management styles would impact how you have to put more creativity on the team, or no, if you have something related to that, or
Okay. This is a very good question that I actually am interested in it a lot, and this relates to my research on culture, on cultural differences. If I can take 2 minutes, I will say something about it. We have a typology of cultural values that we can use to compare cultures in different countries. And I would like to point at 3 values of cultural values that differ across cultures and are very, very relevant for innovation. One is the power distance, which means the hierarchy in the society at large and the hierarchy in the organization. We found out that organizations where they have power distance and also cultures, nations, where higher power distance is low, have a higher potential of having innovation than cultures where power distance is high. Why? Because when power distance is high, people are afraid to express different ideas than what the boss says. And they have the habit to listen to the instructions of the boss rather than to think for themselves and come up with their own ideas. So this is one characteristic. The other one has to do with tolerance for ambiguity or uncertainty avoidance. What do we mean by uncertainty avoidance? That there are cultures where it is important to have everything defined, clear regulations, clear rules. Any deviation from the rules is stigmatized. You have to follow the norms. So this is high uncertainty avoidance. You don't want to avoid the situations that are not so much clear. On the other hand, there are cultures where uncertainty avoidance is low, namely there is a high tolerance for uncertainty. Israel, for example, is such a country, and it has pros and cons. For example, if you want to get a service from a company, and so the answer you get is "Yeh beseder." What does it mean, "Yeh beseder"? "Yeh beseder" in Hebrew, it means it's going to be all right. Nobody tells you when the person who comes the technician is going to come to fix the air conditioning. They usually tell you between 9 and 4. So you have to be at home all day to wait for this person to come. So so you learn to tolerate ambiguity. And actually, when you tolerate ambiguity, you have to explore by yourself. You have to find a way by yourself. And exploration is the source of innovation. Once you start to explore, you find new things. So low uncertainty avoidance is also good for innovation. And collectivism, individualism, there is a debate. The tendency is to say that individualism is better for innovation because in individualistic society, people feel free to express their unique ideas. In a collectivistic society, you want to be like everybody else, not to deviate from the group. You want to conform with the group. So there is going to be more innovation in individualistic society. Israel